So you've got a slab and you've got an idea of turning it into a coffee table, and you want to keep that live edge, and maybe you've got a void that you might dig some of that stuff out of and fill it with some kind of color or inlay. That's what I'm going to do with this one, although I haven't figured that part out yet. So it's probably a good idea to go around the very outer edges just a little bit with your sander, just because they can have very sharp edges. This wood's fairly soft, so that means if I'm going to put an epoxy top on it, I'm probably going to want to seal it like 3 times with some epoxy that's thinned with alcohol, because it's going to really soak it up, and there's going to be a lot of air bubbles, I think, expressing themselves. I'd rather get those out before I do the final pour, so we get something that's clear and glassy and beautiful with as few blemishes as possible. I'm not sure it's really possible to get it quite perfect, but it's fun to keep trying. And then I'll take probably a wire or a brass brush, and I'll just brush that, because it's going to leave me with some of the texture. It's going to get all the little soft parts out and pieces that might float up in your finish, and then I'll just brush that with a foam brush with some epoxy on it, and it'll be a nice solid edge, but it will still maintain, like that's going to need to come off, but sometimes like that part we'll probably be able to keep that bark, and so it'll be real dark and kind of create a nice border around our work. Another idea would be to just paint these edges black with a flat black, just because it's going to frame in your piece. And well, maybe I'll do that with this one, so I can show you just as an experiment. The ends, I kind of like the ends a little bit rough. I just sanded them off. Sometimes I might take a jigsaw or something and cut that end off, a little rounder if I want a rounder edge. But I just knocked that off with a sander real quick, and I'm going to go back and sand it smoothly. But since I'm going to pour epoxy on this, I don't really need to go very fine on my sandpaper, like down to 120 or 150, and then that's it, because we just want to get the scratches out. It's going to be sealed with epoxy anyway, so we really don't need to go like into our 220s and so forth. At least that's been my experience. So watch the next one and see how this thing comes out.